It's just a fun question on that. Like, what has been I don't want to say what's the most valuable, but what is the thing that has surprised you the most, that has had value, that you're like, there is no way this thing was going to have value. But then when you looked at it, you were like, oh, that just leads to this really awesome thing. But there's no fucking way that this is possible. But then I'm like, okay, that actually does help a lot.
Yeah, so it's with the first thing I started with,
Hmm.
like because I told you I was having these like intrusive thoughts about harming the people that I cared about.
Hmm.
And so in order to like test myself, I had my come to Jesus moment where I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking go to a therapist and I'm gonna tell him everything that's happening. And if he locks me away, he locks me away, and that's kind of all there is to it. I'll pay whatever penance I must. I'll do the right thing. And so I went to this therapist in San Francisco, and I told him what was going on, and he laughed at me. And he's like, "Bro, do you have any idea how normal that is? Like, that's just like a normal thing that happens to people." Like, he told me this story about this famous psychologist that had an urge to throw his baby off a balcony. And he's like, "You're never
Mm-hmm.
going to throw him off the balcony. Sometimes you have urges. It's like, it's fine."
Wow.
And that gave me a couple insights. I was like, first of all, I was relieved that I didn't have to go to a mental institution. But secondly, I was like, wait a minute, if that's normal, we are fucked, because that should not be normal. But eventually I warmed up to it, and I learned more about shadow integration, and I learned that I had to love this part of me that was giving me these visions that I was terrified of. And I was like, what do you mean I have to love it and like let it express itself? It wants to kill people. That's the worst idea I've ever heard. And some other part of me recognized it as true. So I knew I had a bunch of rage to get out. I knew I had a bunch of hatred to get out because I hated the world for what it did to me as a kid. And so I knew I had a lot of shit to get out. So I started taking Kung Fu. I joined a men's group, started spinning fire, started working out, doing anything I could do to express all that rage and that hatred and that anger. And as I started getting it out and doing my integrative practice, I started to realize, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm actually angry for a reason. I'm angry because people are abusing me and manipulating me and mistreating me, and I'm not standing up. And the part of me that was supposed to stand up is so fucking fed up of being pushed into a corner that it's like, no, motherfucker, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to kill people because I have to stop this. And once I understood that, I was able to respect it, because I would be like, damn, like that's how strong you are. Like, you'll kill people to make sure this happens. Like, all right, I'd actually rather have you on my side. And so I started to realize that all that anger was meant to be creating boundaries, and it was meant to be standing up for myself, and it was meant to be my connection to myself and my truth and my values and my standards. And once I understood that, I could start to channel that anger, and I started setting boundaries. I started standing up for myself. I started just living in a much healthier way. And now it's interesting because one of my favorite quotes from Carl Jung, or favorite quotes in general, is that what you need most will be where you least want to look. And this part of me was the thing I was the most afraid of. And it ended up being the biggest catalyst in my life, because it gave me my life back. It helped me stand up for myself, figure out who I am, tell the truth, get clear on my vision, and actually start to execute it regardless of what other people thought. So I was terrified of it. It almost got me to end my life. But as a result of integrating it, I became a completely new, different person.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. And so I want to say summarize kind of what you said, it essentially that rage and that inner feeling of those intrusive thoughts, even though that were like, I'm going to kill my friends, that fundamentally stemmed from this repetitive nature of letting people cross your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, you were able to allow that rage to vent, but then also use that as fuel to start stepping up for yourself and to start having those boundaries and that clarity, both I would say internally and externally, and towards the things that you wanted in your life, probably even creating the boundaries with yourself and like the self-discipline and those kind of components to it. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. And it also introduced me to like the fact that I have a killer inside of me.
Mm.
Like, we all do, but not all of us are aware of it. Like, if
Mm.
you really took the time to think about it, like, under what circumstances might I kill someone? Like, in order to protect a baby, or
Mm.
in order to, like, do whatever, like, we all have something we'd kill for, and we all have something we'd die for. And what I learned, one of the things I've learned from this experience is that once you figure out what you'd kill for,
Mm.
you have your foundation set.
Mm.
It's like, this is the thing I'd go all the fucking way for. And then from there, everything else doesn't really matter as much. because the part of you that would kill to do something or protect
Hmm.
something or make sure that somebody got to survive, once
Yeah.
that's integrated, and there's a sense that if you keep pushing me far enough, bad things will happen, people just naturally start to respect your boundaries a little bit more. And it's when you don't have that, the like, what, test me, motherfucker, and see where this goes. Like, if you don't have that in your being anywhere, people that want to walk over your boundaries will know that it's easy and they'll try to do that. And you'll be in conflict for the rest of your life. But when you have a part of you that's like, no, I'll go this far and I know what I'll go this far for, so don't test me, people just kind of naturally respect it and they don't even want to mess with you anymore.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not that you act like a killer, you don't lead with that, but it's this thing. It's like, I know myself, I know what I'm capable of. And
Yeah.
like, so I have that integrated and it gives me a certain kind of backbone and solidity.
Yeah. Yeah. I have heard once in this, and it resonated with me. It's like the idea of like having a sheathed sword, right? This
Mm-hmm.
idea of when you have that, you're not walking around with your sword out, you're not flailing around at people and hurting anybody, right? But there's also this like, yeah, I have this, and if something were to happen, like there, I might get killed, but I'm still gonna chop off an ear probably, or make my. It's not gonna be
Exactly.
easy, right?
And it even
Um,
humbles you because it's like,
mhm.
because I know where I can go in myself, I'm going to be extra loving and extra peaceful so that I never get there.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because you're
yeah,
like, I know what I can do and I don't want to do that.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. That's
Yeah,
super super insightful.
my pleasure.
Yeah, well, I'd love to kind of